Testing my favorite budget ammo as a self-defense cartridge, our Blazer 22 long rifle, 40 grain solid. I used to run this stuff all the time. I used to have a Ruger Mark 3 2245, and I would run about, I would say, 1,000 to 2,000 rounds of it, not have a malfunction or a jam or a dud or anything like that. And that's kind of because these CCI Blazers are actually essentially CCI mini mags, but without the copper wash. So in a lot of regards, they're actually better. They're not as clean. However, reducing that lead, I've found, gives you a little bit better velocity. So I've been curious for a long time, what if I use that as a self-defense cartridge and test it and to see how it does? And I thought, you know what, how would I compare it to something else next level up that a lot of people say they would use, and that would be a 380 ACP. So I'm just going to use 380 ACP Blazer, the cheapest stuff they have, 95 grain FMJ. You know, a lot of people say if you're going to carry a 380 ACP, you should be using FMJs because hollow points, you know, if they expand, you underpenetrate, or they're not going to expand anyway. So I thought it'd be a kind of a cool comparison to see how our Blazer 380 ACP ball ammo compares to some solid non-hollow point Blazer 22 long rifle. So guns used are our Smith & Wesson M&P Shield EZ, our Taurus TX22, and very similar barrel travel, a little bit more with the 22, but not by a lot. It's like a third of an inch or a quarter of an inch or something like that. So we'll see what we get here with these. I believe this is rated at I want to say 955. I wrote it down in the back. And it's rated through a 3.75 inch. This is 3.68, so real close. It's rated at 975 feet per second. This is rated at 1235, but that's through a rifle. So we're going to see what kind of velocity and accuracy we get at the same time. Then I'm going to do my 10% clear ballistic test here. I'm just going to go into plain clear ballistics to see what the best potential is of these. And then after that, I'm going to do a little bit more real world. I usually put denim on the front of this block when I do my real world test, but I'm not going to do that today because, you know, they're not hollow points. The denim's not going to clog a hollow point. But I am going to use a 1/4 inch medium density fiber board that's going to represent hidden grips or sturm. So we'll go plain clear ballistics, and then we'll do 1/4 inch medium density fiber board, see how they compare that way. And then I'm going to shoot at my steel to see what kind of practical accuracy I can get with these. So let's get started with this test. All right, first up we have our 22 Blazer 40 grain solid. It is rated at 1235 feet per second. CCI doesn't list the barrel length, but I'm assuming that's a rifle. That being said, your typical 40 grain solid point through a pistol is averaging about 955 feet per second. So I'll use that as my benchmark. Let's see how close we get to 955 feet per second with this 22 long rifle here. No read. 997. 988. 975. 983. 945. So consistent up until that last point there, or that last round. Our 380 ACP rated at 975 feet per second. So a barrel that's a little bit longer than this. Let's see what we get with this. 933. 883. 918. 904. 905. So below rated velocity, but that's fine because actually when we're looking at gel testing, we don't want an excessive amount of velocity and energy because that can cause extreme overpenetration. So that's not bad overall. So let's hit our ballistics gel block, see what we get with these. All right, let's see what we get here with our best potential. Our left side of the block here is just plain clear ballistics. Our right half side is medium density fiberboard. So 22 long rifle, plain clear ballistics. Let's see what we get here. All right, now let's hit that with our 380 ACP above that, see what we get with that. Let's go take a look. All right, that's pretty textbook of what I thought I was going to see and what we see with FMJs that are not excessively powerful, like 38 Special 380, stuff like that. We see a little bit too much penetration, but we also see good damage from tumbling. So what we got here with our 22 long rifle and plain gel is we got spot on here about 12.5 inches. So just looking at that at face value, that's enough penetration to meet kind of our FBI minimum. So that looks decent. It looks like the bullet moved straight that whole way, so it's looking good. Now with our 380 ACP, what we have here, we have a little bit of over penetration, but we're only talking 21.5 inches. Clear ballistics is a little bit less dense than real gel. That's not enough for me to be concerned about that it's going to pass through an attacker and then hit somebody on the other side of them. I just don't see that happening with that type of penetration. It's only when we get like way up here that I start to think, you know, that's a little bit too much. So let's move on to more of our real world simulation through our medium density fiber board. See how that compares. All right, through our 1/4 inch medium density fiber board rib simulation, 22 long rifle. This is where things kind of change up. You don't have a lot of power. Sometimes that slows that bullet down quite a bit, but let's see what we get here. 22 long rifle. All right, let me give one more. Let's let that bullet kind of drop down kind of weird. One more. All right, now let's hit it with our 380 ACP FMJ through our medium density fiber board. See how that compares. Go take a look. All right, so it looks like the MDF potentially caused that bullet to just move straight and not tumble. We got almost the same penetration with our 380 ACP. We're at about 22 inches. That's not too bad. Again, that's not too bad. Our 22 long rifle, the first one went under this block here. Yeah, I don't know where it's at, but our second one here went to about 10.25 inches. So considering we went to a 1/4 inch MDF, which can oftentimes take away 2 inches of penetration, that's not bad. That's enough to hit vitals. So what we have here, and it's interesting because it looks like our first shot with our 22 went straight. Our second one maybe started to tumble a little bit, and we're seeing that going through here, a little more damage, but it still did fine. Our 380 ACP obviously went straight through there with very little resistance. So overall, I'm going to say our 380 is definitely a lot better. However, when we look at the actual numbers, our 22 is just barely there as far as getting enough penetration. So let's take a close-up look at these, and then we'll shoot the steel. All right, here's a close-up look at these bullets here, and here's through our plain gel with our 22 long rifle. Nice long bullet. I believe these are wax coated. No change to that bullet, and I think that is the reason why we saw so much damage, because that's going to be tumbling. And this is another thing I hear people say, oh, 22 is deadlier because it tumbles around, and they don't take into consideration that's not necessarily true. And also, most of the 22 long rifle deaths are self-deletions, so you really can't say it's more effective based on that. But yeah, being that there's no real deformation here, that tumble around caused all that gel damage. A 380 ACP, no change whatsoever. Even though this is listed as like an FMJ, I believe it's listed as a TMJ, total metal jacket. It's not a true jacket, but it's almost as good as a true jacket. Now here's what we see here with our 22 long rifle, and this is probably the reason why, this is the first one that went under the gel, probably the reason why it didn't cause as much damage is because you take that nose and you flatten it. It is significantly flatter than the plain gel one. So what that does is it prevents it from tumbling. Now you have kind of a flat nose that orients it straight, and it reduces the chance for it to tumble because it's not as long. And our second shot here, it looks like it started to actually tumble in the gel before it hit the MDF, and then it went through sideways. So kind of erratic there. A 380 ACP, it looks identical to the one in plain gel. There is no flattening, there's nothing. It's a hard bullet there. So overall, both did pretty good, but I guess our 380 is a little bit more consistent. So That's what you get with that. All right, I'm about 12 yards from the target, so I just want to pull up with these, see what kind of practical shootability I can get with these. Here's our 22 long rifle. Let's see what this does. All right, that's very accurate ammo, very easy to shoot. That shoots really good. Keep going. So that's some good ammo there. I'm liking that. It shoots really good and it's really predictable out of my pistol. So 380 ACP, let's see what this does. It's a lot harder. And that's one thing here, we have a limited mag capacity, half the capacity of the 22, but that's pretty typical. Let's see how I can do with this. And you can see that hits a lot harder. So for fun, let me back it up and see, you know, what kind of practical shootability I can get from a little more distance. All right, 40 yards from the target. I always enjoy coming back to this distance, you know, dick and drill type things, but I'm not really gonna do a dick and drill, but I like to see 40 yards because we know in the real world situation, an incident happened where 40 yards was the distance. So I like to know. So let's see what our 22 will do here. All right, I pulled a couple there. 380 ACP, let's see what this does. So I was shooting a little bit too fast there, kind of got away from me. So let me back it up just a little more for fun. All right, 75 yards from the target. I generally just do this for fun, but you also have to take into consideration sometimes there's extreme situations where you might need to fire from that distance. SHTF situations where you just kind of want to know how an ammo does, because sometimes ammo does terrible at distance even though it does fine up close. So just for my own information, I like to just kind of see how this stuff does. So 22 long rifle, I'm gonna aim center mass, see if I can make any hits. That first shot I was aiming center mass, and then I raised my sights up to aim for headshots, so we probably got some drop going on. All right, got away from there a little bit. Started firing a little too fast. 380 ACP, I don't know what to expect here. Just gonna aim center mass, see if I can make any hits. All right, I saw some extremely strange things happening with that. As holding tight, holding center mass, I saw some shoot off a good 8-9 feet to the left, to the right, and some of them really high. So I don't know why that's happening. That's interesting. I went to pull another shot, and it's like the trigger didn't reset, and the next one was gritty. So more of those hits I was making, I was actually aiming below the target. So definitely a lot off. Not very accurate. And I saw even at 5 yards, it wasn't very accurate on paper, which, you know, shooting a 380 like that, I should be able to group it in one spot, but it really wasn't happening like that. So I would say our 22 is extremely accurate out of all circumstances here. This is just not quite accurate in this pistol, and that happens a lot. So what I want to talk about now here is 380 ACP versus 22 long rifle. And I get a lot of comments every day about 22 long rifle. When I started doing 22 long rifle content with this, I didn't realize that I was going to get 100 comments a day about 22 long rifle. And generally they're the same comment. Like 20 times a day, a different person will say, those people that say 22 long rifle isn't effective won't stand in front of it. Or they'll say it's just as effective, or they'll say just all kinds of different stuff about 22 long rifle. Or the main one I get is, it's the deadliest cartridge. And they'll say a bunch of stuff that's more deadly than anything else. And my main concern when I get comments like that is they're talking about lethality, they're not talking about ability to stop a threat. So let's talk about the ability to stop a threat. With ammo like this, on the statistics of, you know, one-shot stops abilities, and you have to understand what that means. It doesn't mean it kills somebody, it doesn't mean it drops them down, it doesn't mean it knocks them back, it doesn't mean it they fall over dead, it doesn't necessarily even mean that they're out of the fight. Stopping power means that what's the percentage chance that somebody's going to stop that direct motion. Let's say I'm coming at you with the knife, I'm ready to come down like this. 22 long rifle, a 40 grain moving at about 955 feet per second out of a pistol is a 21% chance of stopping that motion. So what that means is you have a 1 in 5 chance that you impact me, it'll make me stop or drop the knife or whatever. That means 80% of the time, boom, 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 it's, you know. And with 357 mag, 125 grain semi-jacket at a hollow point, you're looking at 96% chance that if somebody's in a motion, boom, it's going to stop that motion, which buys you time to fire more adequate shots, to escape, to evade, to whatever. So 21% here for a 22 long rifle. And we look at the same statistics here, and this is all real world data. This is not just made up numbers that they estimated it through, oh, it does this much in gel. This is real world numbers here. And through a I believe 3.6 inch barrel, which is almost the same as this here, with a full metal jacket, 380 ACP, that's moving about 955 feet per second, which is almost that. You have a 51% chance to stop a motion, to stop a threat, stopping power, which means to stop that immediate motion. So 51% versus 21%, that's going to tell you that you have at least half odds that if you were to make a shot with a 380 ACP, half the time that motion is going to be stopped, the other half the time probably not. 22 long rifle, it's down there, almost unlikely to happen at all. And at that point, then you're going to have to change where you're shooting to central nervous system shots or something like that. Now, I will say 22 is not worthless, and a lot of people say it's better than a sharp stick, and it is, for the reason that if somebody's attacking you and they see this, there's a good chance psychologically, I don't want anything to do with this, please, I'll drop the knife, whatever, I don't want your money anymore. That's better than nothing. A shot fired is better than nothing. An impact where they decide they're not going to fight anymore is better than nothing, and a CNS shot that will stop them is better than nothing. But we have to understand that most, if not all, practical training does not, you know, start shooting here. It's all center mass because of adrenaline. Adrenaline going, it's much more difficult to place shots accurately. That's why literally every law enforcement agency or any other legitimate training agency, they go for center mass, because center mass, that's very easy to hit in an area this big. When you're under that adrenaline, now you're hitting in an area this big. So being able to take a central nervous system shot is much more difficult. Not that it can't be done. So that's something to take into consideration. But as far as reviewing this ammo altogether, I'm going to say this 22 is very excellent. If you're going to carry a 22, you want one that's going to be consistent. You want one that's going to have consistent penetration, consistent accuracy, consistent reliability. Honestly, this is one of the best ammos I've ever used in the past and present. So that's something that you can buy a 500 pack of that stuff, this 40 grain for, you know, 35 bucks. You get a lot of practice and get a lot better with it. 380 ACP, it's a better cartridge, but it is a little harder to shoot for weaker individuals. So that's what you get today. So as always, comment, share, and like, and thanks for watching.